What's up, everyone? Hurricane Liz here, and we are ready to get started here on brand new webinar series called PPC Science. We'll learn a little bit more about what that's about. Today, really, though, it's going to be a beginner's introduction to PPC. What is it? What are all these new terms? What are all these new match types? What is it all about? It's going to be really data intensive. Going to have a notepad, a pen, a highlighter, whatever you want. You're going to have that out and take really good notes, because today, as I said before, I'm going to break it down in the simplest terms possible. And next time we get on this webinar, we're going to get down and dirty. We're going to get into some deep, deep stuff. In fact, I'm working to get Jack Harvell on here for some more advanced ones. But for now, I've been spending countless amount of weeks and months working on this and trying to get it down in the most basic format that I can possibly do, and I'm bringing it straight to you guys here inside of OMG. Tonight, as usual, joining me are Smack and Josh Dewitt, and Smack was just telling us about her holiday weekend. She said she had a fantastic time. Smack, you want to just give everybody that wasn't on here just a brief recap of what you did on your 4th of July?
Well, I mean, it wasn't that exciting. Had my kids together up in Maine. We ate good food. We went out in the boat, and we talked about products, and I finally wrote my daughter into doing some videos for me. So.
Wow, fantastic, Smack. So Smack was actually on the boat talking products. How's that for dedicated Amazon seller?
I wasn't as dedicated as Josh, who locked himself in his room. And I think it's a little different for somebody my age to be dedicated working on that, and a college student to be working on it.
Right. So, Josh, fill us in on what you did. Were you and Oliver nice and cozy under the blankets and watching some Game of Thrones?
I mean, yeah, I was with Oliver, and we were snuggling, of course, but no Game of Thrones. I was on my computer hustling, trying to get everything done. On the bright side, my girlfriend was at work too, so just working while the friends were out partying.
Awesome. Yes, I did quite a bit of partying thanks to Cotton. I actually got a chance to see. I saw Justin Bieber. That was the highlight of my weekend. Don't hate on me because I'm a believer, but hey, I had a fantastic time watching Justin Bieber at the nightclub. It was a heck of a lot of fun. I would do it all over again. So also watched some fireworks, so it was really fun. So let's get started. Enough of the partying, enough of the having fun. 4th of July is past us. We've got a lot to look forward to, so let's quickly talk about some of that stuff here. And let me start sharing my screen here. One last thing before I jump into this, I just want to let everybody know that we are in the OMG way, and we're on here. Let's get started. Josh was in. I'm not sure. I can't think of a good hashtag to start with. I certainly wouldn't say let's hashtag Justin Bieber, because I'm sure quite a bit of you don't even give a crap about Justin Bieber. But let's just do a hashtag PPC if you guys are excited to start listening in to the PPC stuff. I'm still sitting in my chair. I've been exhausted by the weekend. Cotton came down here and visited me. Gregory Ortiz came down here and visited me, and really tired me out. I still haven't been able to actually stand up and get fired up to get back to work, but I was actually having a little too much fun. And now, as I said before, we're going to jump in here. Again, we're in the OMG way for hashtags and comments, so you definitely want to jump in there. So lots to talk about today, guys. Let me pull back up my presentation and get started. And let's see what we've got here. So my screen should be showing up here. Smack and Josh, do you see my screen okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Fantastic. All right. So here we go. Quickly recapping what we've done so far. We had the Amazon Apprentice. A lot of people sold out. Josh sold out of his listing. I know Kristen, or I might be even pronouncing your name wrong. It might be Kristen, I'm sorry. But I know you sold out. I know you sold out even before we actually started. We saw Carla on here sell 4 products live after she made some of the changes that Smack and I recommended. She did that live when prior to that she was averaging 3 per day. So that was a huge win. I got super excited for her. I know Josh did and Smack did. So really exciting stuff when you get this down. Now, one of the important things about this that a lot of people just entirely miss the entire concept behind this And one of the things that they're actually advertising with this new Alchemy series is that really what we taught, it's somewhat about selling bundles. It's somewhat about retail arbitrage. It definitely helps you learn those skills. They are somewhat important skills. However, it's not to say that without those skills you cannot do very well on Amazon. Smack really has a very limited background of retail arbitrage and her bundling, but she's done an amazing, amazing job. She had to learn the hard way, actually going by starting with private label. It required a little bit of extra money, a little bit of extra know-how. She kind of was already into the whole internet marketer scene. So for her, it was a lot easier than somebody that was entirely new and had no experience. But the whole purpose of the Amazon Apprentice series was to get you just in the game and get some experience behind learning how to sell on Amazon. And again, this should ultimately be used for the purposes of either developing your own private labeling business or grabbing some clients. There is an insane amount of people out there that need Amazon experts to help them actually put products up on Amazon. A lot of people selling millions and millions of dollars worth outside of Amazon. Now imagine the potential that they have when they already have product. And you guys out there, every single one of you, with that series, with the stuff that I've been doing with Smack's help, with Josh's help, you now have the knowledge to be able to sell that as a skill set, just as Cotton does SEO client consulting, just as Joe Marfolio does, just as everybody that's inside of OMG does. You now have the knowledge and the skill set to be able to provide that as a service. So that is a huge, huge advantage. That's what it comes down to, is huge, huge advantage. Either your own products and or your own consulting. It's either or. And that's what really the whole basic background to Amazon Apprentice is. So we showed that step by step. Now, this new series, we talked very briefly about PPC. We showed Josh's thing. We showed how basic PPC is from the point of retail arbitrage. Now we need to get into PPC and take a deeper look at what we need to be thinking about when we're doing this for our private label business. Again, this is going to be, series is going to be stretched out. Tonight we're going to have a heck of a lot of information. It's going to be information overload for a little bit for some of you guys, but really, the whole purpose of today is to get you all up to speed with the terminology and the goal of this particular series. It could potentially run for as long as 2 months, so be ready, be prepared. Last thing I wanted to mention this to you, Smack, I don't know if you got this particular email. I just got this email today about these AMZ tracker meetups. If you show up and you take a picture of yourself with the phone, you get 25%. I'm not sure if I misread that, Smack. Was it 25% off your subscription price or 25% more words? Did you get the whole
I think it was 25% off a month.
That's huge. My actual bill, Smack, is $500 a month. So are you telling me I would save $125 a month?
No, I think it's on the. I don't think it's on all the usage things. Where did I put that? I was just looking at that before. It didn't seem worth it to me to drive all the way into Boston.
For just that
and
one.
Again, I've dropped AMZ Tracker anyway in favor of other keyword tools and Command Center, so that would mean I'd need to pick it back up. So.
Well, it's not ongoing. Well, AMZ Tracker still continues to be my particular favorite tool to use. It's a little bit pricey. I know there's other tools, but I've just gotten so used to it and some of the features that I enjoy using about it. So obviously there's several others that work. If it wasn't 25% each time, then it's probably not worth it. But for some of you guys that have been wanting to meet other Amazon sellers in your area, they have a list on their site.
Liz, it's a 25% lifetime keyword limit bonus just for showing up. So you need to take a picture of yourself.
So I would get 25% off every single month?
Yeah. Do you know what really scared? Do you know what really? No, 25% more words. Do you know what really scared me though? Looking at the list of where these are, I'd say 80% of these hangouts are in different cities in China. And the fact that AMZ Tracker is marketing to these Chinese manufacturers who are making our lives miserable scares the hell out of me.
Right. Shenzhen, we see quite a bit of
Bangkok, then Vietnam, then Phoenix, Prague, London, Vegas, Toronto, Singapore, Shenzhen, Portland, Oregon, New York, Los Angeles, Quebec, Tampa, Changsha, China, Vancouver, San Diego, Seattle, Boston, Houston, Miami, Bucharest, Austin, Kuala Lumpur, Osaka.
All right, this is still a pretty good opportunity to get out there and meet some people. So you guys are in any of the areas, 25% more keywords. I thought it was a discount, but either way, I just wanted to give you guys a heads up. If you're in any of these areas and you want to meet fellow Amazon sellers, could be a potentially good opportunity to get out there and just meet some people. So,
do you want me to grab the link and drop it in the chat box?
Sure, yeah. I'm showing everybody the actual page right now. And then if you just click on the particular one, you can find out who's actually hosting it. This is at WeWork. I know that ours was actually in at a Starbucks in Miami. So I was like, I prefer not to go to a Starbucks, but that's where it's at. So you can check this out. You can check this list out. See if somewhere, if you live, is on here. Might be a good opportunity just to get out there and meet some people. So I just wanted to bring that to everybody's attention. So Smack's posting that in the actual link right now. Next thing that I wanted to talk about here is I actually just got a message right before I came up here. I'm not sure if you've noticed this, Smack, but there's now lightning deals in the promotion section of your menu when you log into Seller Central. Did you see that yet?
Yes, but they still need to invite you to them. So just because it's there doesn't mean you can create one. It needs to be there and it needs to be populated. And what's really interesting is they're saying that access to that is free for now, which means that eventually they're going to be charging for it.
Right, and they invited me for a couple products. I saw a couple products that were posted on there. Some of them that I only have a very limited amount of units, so it really didn't make any sense. I think I was even invited to one with 1 unit in stock. So it was kind of strange to me. But anyways, I thought I'd share that with you guys. It's interesting just to click into it on your actual screen to see what products pop up there for you. I had the option of 4 different products, and 2 of them were products where I only have like a unit in stock or something. It was something completely silly. I think one of them was even like a stuffed animal that I had picked up during my retail arbitrage days. It was a high-priced stuffed animal, and they wanted me to sell it, just one thing. So I thought it was kind of funny, but just thought I'd mention that to you guys. And then the last thing we were talking about earlier, Prime Day is July 12th, so you've got about a week to go. It's probably a little bit too late to get inventory in if you haven't already shipped it, but if it's on its way and or you have product in Amazon or at Amazon, you definitely want to make sure your listings are optimized, your PPC campaigns, if you're already running them, are optimized, and simple things like that. Make sure your price is right. Smack was telling us a little bit about what Prime Day was, and I was telling everybody that I wasn't even aware of Prime Day last year. So when Prime Day rolled around and people had these incredible numbers, it was definitely one of my biggest days. I was not prepared at all, so I have to say it was probably my second biggest day. I cannot remember which one, whether it was that one or Black Friday, that was my largest day. But for me now this year, I just still wasn't even aware of what it actually was. So Smack was sort of recapping that for us and telling us what it was about. Smack, can you tell everybody that got here a little bit late, just tell them a little bit about what Prime Day is?
I'm sitting here reading an article on CNET that talks about, Prime Day is basically a Cyber Monday in July, and promises extra savings over and above Amazon's usual discount prices. So, they invited a lot of people to do today's deals and to do lightning deals. And they are advertising the hell out of it, saying that they are going to have deals. The ads say that, there are new deals every 5 minutes, over 100,000 deals for Prime members around the world. They have a Prime Day app, so you can track the deals when they come in. They say last year 398 items were ordered per second worldwide. So the issue is they're advertising it as a way for consumers to spend. Last year, consumers thought it was a big bust, that there weren't great deals, but they all still showed up on Amazon, and they all still bought, and we had great days. So even if you don't have a lightning deal or a today's deal, or you're one of the featured, if you are just there, when they're searching. There's a lightning deal, for example, for some kind of a blue widget. And you sell blue widgets, and you have an optimized PPC campaign, so you're showing up on all pages when someone's looking for blue widgets. So when they go to that blue widget that has a lightning deal, there's your product. It's a better blue widget, and they could buy your product. So the key to know about Prime Day is that Amazon is driving Christmas-level traffic to the site. And therefore, because they're driving Christmas-level traffic, you're going to do Christmas-level sales. And it'll give you an idea when you're trying to figure out how much inventory you need and how well you'll do in the holiday season, because your Prime Day sales will be about an average day sale during that, Black Friday through December 20th time period.
Sounds amazing. So I'm certainly excited about this. I've got a lot of products that I did not send in there, but I'm going through the process of actually optimizing my listings right now, making sure everything's set straight. So that's the quick recap that I wanted to cover. Now today, let's get on to the juicy stuff today. We're going to start very slowly with the whole entire PPC thing. We've got a lot to cover. As I said before, this possibly is going to be stretched out as much as 8 weeks in advance, so we've got that much information to cover. Why do we use PPC? For the longest time I didn't, so I'm going to explain how I sort of changed my mind and got back into it, talked a little bit to Jack Harvell, talked a little bit to a couple of my other friends that are very, very good at PPC, and finally decided to plunge right back in. We're also going to talk about the key differences between PPC for retail and wholesale, as well as PPC for private label. Two entirely different things, and the way we approach them is really, really very important. You have to understand this, especially when you jump from the retail arbitrage space into the private label space. At some point, it should be every single one of you guys' goal, guys and gals. So today, we're going to cover PPC basics, again, at a very slow start, very low level PPC introduction, a lot of terminology, a lot of information. As I said to you guys before, this is almost going to be information overload. So I really need you guys to take what you learned tonight and study it, come back here with your questions so we can cover all those and just dive deep right in. And you guys, as usual, you're going to have just homework. It's not really that complicated. Don't get scared. Don't get worried. It's going to be really basic homework. I'm finding that there's a core group of people that are really doing the homework, which is huge. Josh is on here today. He did the homework in the very last series, and he ended up with making money while he learned. Now, he's got the advantage of, as soon as he gets another product going, he already knows what he did wrong on the previous one. He knows how he has to improve. He knows the mistakes that he made, and he knows going forward the type of plan that he has and he can set in place. He even learned a little bit about PPC in the last webinar series. Now he's going to turn that up a notch, and he's really going to learn how to out-level what he did back then. So that's what we're going to jump into. How we're going to format it, how we're going to go through this. As I said earlier, I didn't actually say this, but I should have said it. I'm going to try and do this as an over-the-shoulder PPC experiment. This is a big experiment, so I'm going to have to see how I probably have to screenshot some things and hide some of the main keywords and kind of explain them to you from a different perspective. So it's going to be interesting. I still have to decide. That might be a little bit difficult to do that, but I'm going to try to share with you as much as I possibly can and show you exactly the entire process that I go through now. I've been masterminding this with guys that I consider the best in the business, and again, this is what I came out with by combining all that knowledge I got from them along with all the knowledge that I've learned just doing this. A lot of people don't know this about me, and this is kind of funny. I should actually show this, but the very first large sum of money that I made on the internet was via PPC. It was via pay-per-click. It was actually using Google AdWords. So I have an extensive background in PPC. I'm going to show you guys this site. It's really funny. There was two of them. The first one was a gaming site, and I sold, Smack has probably seen this site. It's a very funny site. I sold online currency for games like Sims Online, World of Warcraft, Final Fantasy, a lot of games. Actually, not World of Warcraft. It was EverQuest. World of Warcraft was my other site that I actually had. But as you can see here, in 2005 was the last date I had it. I had it from 2003 to 2005. And if we take a look at what this thing looked like here on May 12, 2005, let's have a quick peek at what it looked like. So this is it. This was the site that I had for 3 years. Made a boatload of money. I even had live chat on there, Smack. Look at that. Live chat back in 2002. That was how long ago? I can't even count that far. 14 years ago. And again, had this site, did all of my traffic came from pay-per-click traffic, and this site made well over $1 million plus. 14 years ago, 2002, is that right? So that was 14 years. That would have made, I was in my 20s, early 20s back then. Amazing. So this is the site. As you can see, it doesn't take a lot when you take a massive imperfect action. And again, this funny site that I made that much money with PPC. It was really fun. It was really fun and cool. And let me close it out so you guys can stop laughing. I know a bunch of people are probably giggling at this. I know a couple people are already defending me about Justin Bieber. A couple people were like, hey, you like Justin Bieber? That's cool. A couple people are sending me Justin Bieber sucks. So I'm sorry, guys. I love Justin Bieber. He's one of my favorite singers. And I got to see him. I was super excited about that. All right. Let's jump back into the presentation. So again, we are going to open up with this week with the basics, really, is what we're going to look at, the basics. And we'll tackle a couple other random random topics other than basics, but really the core focus is very slowly, very effectively, we're going to jump into here and make sure you guys are all thoroughly educated on the actual topic. What I actually mean by tackle a couple other random topics, there will be times where I need enough time to gather data. As you'll learn, Smack will talk about this as well. Gathering data is one of the most important goals of PPC. You want to have this data, that way you know how to optimize your listing and things like that. And again, we'll get into that later on. So there might be a couple weeks where I need to get 2 weeks worth of data in order to be able to present an effective plan for you guys. So we might have to throw in a couple other random topics. A couple people asked that they'd like to see the tools that I actually use and the tools that Smack uses. Smack mentioned earlier that she doesn't like AMZ Tracker anymore. I still use it. So a lot of times that's very useful to share with people what exactly we're using to actually manage our businesses. Smack, how many tools what are your core tools? If you want to give everybody a quick, just give them a brief idea of how many tools you actually use to manage your business. Well, I count them out in my head. Try to raise my desk. I'm kind of getting fired up about tonight, so I think I'm going to actually raise the desk while Smack thinks about that.
I use Excel. I use Manage by Stats. I use Profits Engine. And I use Command Center. And then occasionally I use Jungle Scout. And even more occasionally Merchant Words and Keyword Inspector and Google Keyword Planner. And there are, a couple of new ones. I'm always testing out new products, so that there are, a couple of new ones people have sent me that I'm taking a look at. But really, I don't use, too many tools. I mean, I use Manage by Stats to sort of see where I am. I use Excel with my own spreadsheets and Google, Google Docs and Google Forms and Google Sheets to manage my team. So, I'm not very tool intensive. There's no magic tool that's going to help you make millions.
Interestingly enough, Smack, a lot of the ones that you just mentioned, I use the complete opposite of those. So we both have a bunch of different.
Right.
Yeah. So it'd be good. It'd be good to actually see the differences of what we use. And like I said, a lot of times it doesn't even matter exactly what you use. It matters the fact that you're being able to collect that data and then use it by using those tools. So it's kind of, a lot of people think it's the tools that sort of help you with this stuff, but it's really not. All right, so let's jump back into here, see what else we've got. I think we already went over all these. All right, so what is PPC? I'm going to, again, lay this out to you guys in layman's terms. It's going to be very basic. I'm not going to get into any fancy words or anything. I'm going to do it just the layman model, very easy, very simple. PPC, it's an advertising model used to direct traffic to your Amazon listing where you pay Amazon a price per click. You pay them a fee for this actual traffic for them to send it to your listing. Every time your ad is clicked, we pay Amazon, so it's very simple. People see ads that are displayed on their actual desktop after they submit a query. We're going to get deep into that right now. And they're charged based on those clicks. How does it work? One of the things that I do recommend for you guys, if you haven't already done, Amazon themselves has a YouTube channel where they have a ton of videos. They go over the entire, first of all, the entire FBA process. They go over PPC. They go over a lot of different topics. Just Google Amazon Seller Education YouTube channel. You'll see it pop up. And they have 4 or 5 videos that cover PPC. They talk about manual campaigns. They talk about automatic campaigns. They take an overview look at the campaign manager. So it covers a lot of information. If you have not already checked that out, you definitely want to do so. Again, going back to how PPC works, for you as a seller, basically step 1, you pick a product you want advertised. Step 2, you assign keywords to those particular products. Step 3, you decide the type of campaign, the match types, all that stuff which we'll get into in a future video or webinar. And step 4, you assign a bid. That's about as simple as it gets. It's not that complicated. People tend to overcomplicate it, and it can be complicating when you see all the choices that you have available. Manual, automatic, broad type, phrase type, exact type, all that stuff, it kind of is a little bit overwhelming. I know when I actually used to do PPC on Google back in the day, it was a little bit overwhelming, but I found a lot of times one of the very best ways to do things is just do something and then figure it out along the way. Well, good thing that tonight you guys are going to be able to understand all this terminology, and starting next week, we'll start to develop that plan for you so you know exactly what you're doing and what's the optimal way of doing it. And again, like I said before, we'll jump into some advanced series with Jack in the future. I just have to make sure I can schedule him and get him working around his schedule. He just his wife had a baby a couple months back, so he's definitely having a little bit of extra work with his baby, so we've got to make sure we get it scheduled around the baby's sleeping. He definitely would love to jump on here and help us out. So this whole process that Amazon does this is the way it works on Amazon's ad. It's an ad auction. And again, Google does this. It's the same way Google PPC and their AdWords. Step 1, the way the customer is actually served these ads is they submit a query straight into the Amazon search bar. You guys know exactly what I'm talking about. It's the search bar that you used to type. Last week we were typing 4th of July napkin sets. Somebody was to type in 4th of July napkin sets. They enter it into the search bar, hit enter. The second step of that, the ad auction, which is sort of like the Amazon back end, the whole process that handles this, they find all the products that contain the keywords that the customer typed, and they match that search term. Step 3, it filters out the not so relevant items. What I mean by that is sometimes products are ineligible for some of the actual keywords that they try to show up for with the ads. So Amazon filters those out and makes sure that they are not served any ads. And step 4, the rest of the remaining ads, they're actually ranked according to not just their match type, their bid, the history of clicks they've gotten, the history of sales, as well as how long they've been running. I know I used to hear this a lot, and I know Smack can probably talk a little bit more about this, but people used to say, never turn off your ads, always leave a very small budget. I still do that to this day. I have a bunch of budgets that are like at $1. That's just an assumption based off of how the algorithm works, but Smack, did you ever hear that? Was that something that you paid close attention to?
I'm sorry. In terms of what? How the ads are ranked?
Yeah, pausing an ad, pausing a group or a campaign. I'm sorry, not an ad.
Well, I usually don't pause campaigns. Once, I'll delete keywords and things, but once I start, I keep going, because what I have found is when you stop an ad, it is tough to get ranked at the same price again. So,
Right, so
once you start doing PPC, you keep doing PPC.
Right, so that just confirms what I just said, which is the age or how long that's been running. It's important from the perspective of what Amazon looks at. They want to see you have a campaign that's been going on for quite a while. It looks better. It certainly shows up better. And as you said before, that's helped you in the actual rankings. So let me get my mouse to work here again. Okay, so one other thing to note here is when you actually do an exact match, Amazon prefers it. First and foremost, it's what it looks at, and that's because exact match campaigns are very, I'm trying to figure the right word, they are very targeted. It really refines your audience the best possible way, and they convert a lot better, because at the end of the day, when somebody comes and is searching for a black and blue widget, if you have a broad match, it could be a black widget alone, but somebody wants a black and blue widget. By using the exact match for black and blue widget, you'll make sure that they get served the black and blue widgets. It converts a heck of a lot better. So that's just a little bit about the ad auction. Continuing forward, I wanted to give you an example of a particular product. This is a play food set. So when somebody enters play food set, what typically happens in the back end, and this is the process we don't see, play food set is looked at first at the exact level. So the exact is considered first when somebody enters play food set. After Amazon finds all the relevant advertisers for play food set, it will then take it to the phrase level and look at play food set from the phrase level. And then finally, it'll be matched last. So broad is considered last, because if somebody just enters play, it might not be for play food. It might be for play trucks or play dough, something like that. That was certainly one of my favorite toys back in the day, Play-Doh. So again, from the first level, Amazon looks for, when somebody types play food set, it filters them into the exact level match. It grabs all those ads from the exact level and shows them, serves them to their customer. If somebody typed play food, that's the second level, phrase level, and finally play is broad. So broad is considered last. So that's kind of how it goes in line. If you kind of think about it, it goes in a funnel type way where a lot of words come in from the broad and very few come in from the exact. But the words that come in from the exact are targeted. So if somebody needs clarification on that, I'll try to think of a better way to put this. So where do these ads pop up? We've all seen them. We'll jump into Amazon here in a minute to see where they're at typically. I've seen them in all sorts of different places. And again, it depends on the category, and they're constantly changing these, so you could see them really pop up anywhere. So before we jumped on this webinar, I got into Amazon here, and I did a search for vitamin C serum. Just jumped right into Amazon, and I searched for vitamin C serum. And right at the top, we already have these sponsored ads. So it's anywhere where you see these sponsored ads. Now, back in the day, they used to actually have a lot that were on the right-hand side. I didn't see any when I was checking it out. They have also had them before just in the middle. You'll always see it say sponsored ads. This particular one, vitamin C serum, sometimes I'll also have them at the bottom. Let's see if I find any at the bottom here. There's quite a bit of vitamin C serums. I didn't even actually realize that. So let's see, I think I typed in here the next one, knee pad. So let's see, for knee pad, they're at the bottom. So here's one at the top again for knee pad. Let's check the very bottom to see if there's actually any. Yes, here's one sponsored right at the bottom. It's for this knee brace. The other place that I wanted to show you guys where they're at is when you actually click through into the actual listing. They have them in a couple different locations. Sponsored products related to this item. Here's some that are all sponsored. So they have them available right there. And again, at the bottom, sponsored products related to this item. So a couple different sections you can get them. Again, in the back in the day, this was maybe about a year ago, they would be over here on the right-hand side in a lot of actual categories. And at the top, they're not at the top. And as I said before, sometimes they would just be somewhere in the middle. But those are really all the areas that you can actually see where these are at. And again, as I have here, it really depends on the category. It's constantly changing. We saw where they were at the top of the page. Right-hand page, I haven't seen them recently, but they do come out. Sometimes they're in the middle of the page. Again, I haven't seen this recently, but it used to happen. Bottom of the page, you saw the knee guard, you saw where it popped up, and when you click into any listing. So again, they are available. That's where the ads are served. That's where these PPC ads are coming up when your customer is searching for products that are related to your keywords. So the goals of PPC, I look at, there's really a ton of different goals that you can actually look at, but I like to group these up into a couple. The first and most important goal is making sure Amazon knows exactly what your product is about. So this is why last week when Josh was on, or 2 weeks when Josh was on, he turned on the automatic campaign because he immediately wanted to see what kind of words Amazon told him his listing was about. That way he knew if he was in the right space. A lot of times, the big mistake that I see a lot of people make is they like to try to get these bestseller badges, so they put their product in categories that typically have nothing to do with their actual keywords. So immediately that presents a problem when they start to run PPC. You should always stick your product in the category it should be in. And again, Amazon will suggest this to you when you actually create the listing. Smack, you've been around since back in the days when people tried to manipulate the bestseller badges. What have you found when you've done your PPC in terms of, I know you stick exactly to the book, Smack, so I'm sure that you had a lot of experiences where it just was better for you by actual sticking to your category. Am I right?
I haven't found category to affect PPC at all. However, the important thing about categories, and this is sort of off topic, it's more on keywords, but when somebody does a search and they're searching under all departments, and let's say they search for screwdrivers, and you're doing a screwdriver and you really wanted to rank for it in a weird way, so you put your screwdriver under, children's Band-Aids or something, and you got the bestseller rank because there's nobody else in children's Band-Aids, and you got that. But what happens is when someone searches for screwdriver in all departments, what comes up, are a whole bunch of listings. The first ones that come up are probably in tools. So if they click on the first one for tools, and then they want to refine their search for Phillips head screwdrivers or other screwdrivers, because they've clicked on one in tools where most screwdrivers for, the search results that are going to be returned are only going to be in tools. And you may have been a hotshot with your Band-Aid thing, and you'd show up as a bestseller on that first page in all departments as well as in Band-Aids, but that bestseller badge isn't going to do you any good in tools. So I haven't found the category, and I do have some products where it's tricky whether or not it goes in electrical appliances or kitchen appliances, that you need to think about. And I haven't found that affecting me in PPC at all, but in terms of keyword rank and in terms of general search, it's a big deal. So you want to be, in your main category basically, but in some place you can get one of those badges if you want it.
Awesome, Smack. Thank you for sharing that. So again, making sure Amazon knows exactly what your actual product is about. That's really important. You want to make sure you've got that down and you made it crystal clear exactly what your product is about. And the way you do that is through the actual copywriting. The copywriting that you wrote on there, the copy, the bullets, the description, all that stuff, your title. You want to make sure that you've communicated to them exactly what it's about. The second goal is to uncover additional keywords. So you might start off with this list that you maybe use by using the Heisenberg method. You fired up Keyword Inspector, you got a good list going of keywords, you think you're all ready to rock and roll, but guess what? You missed out on a bunch of keywords. And by setting up the reports properly, running this PPC, you'll get exactly what those ideas are for additional keywords. Not just through automatic campaigns, but you can see a lot of potential keywords that you just missed out on. So you can re-optimize that listing and do all sorts of other sexy stuff. Goal number 3 is make your product more visible to more eyeballs. At the end of this day, as Helen pointed out and Smack pointed out, the traffic is so much greater on days like Prime Day, but when you turn on PPC, you're sending a lot more traffic to your page. If your page is converting at a very good rate, that increases your sales. And it's all because of visibility. So by running these PPC campaigns, you make your product visible to a heck of a lot more eyeballs. So certainly that is a huge goal, PPC. Another goal is increasing your organic position. One of the big factors in the actual Amazon algorithm is the amount of sales that you actually generate. So by generating all these extra sales through PPC, that keeps you moving up organically, and it also increases your organic sales. The 5th goal of PPC that I particularly like to use it for is during product launches, because again, it increases my traffic and increases the visibility, and thus increasing my organic position. And again, at the end of the day, it kind of all works together in a snowball type effect. The more things that you're doing to your product listing and the more actual visibility that it does get, it to a certain degree begins to snowball, and you can get just a lot of momentum built up for a lot of sales. Smack, any other goals when you do PPC that you shoot for?
Well, my primary goal is to sell more shit. But no, turning on an automatic campaign basically lets me know whether or not I've optimized my listing properly, because if I think my main keyword is Phillips head screwdriver and I don't see any impressions in the campaign for Phillips head screwdriver, then I know I did a crappy job automating it for that. So the very first thing I do when I turn on automatic PPC is I pull my reports after a week to make sure that all the keywords I was optimizing for are getting impressions. And if they're not, then I go back and I tweak. It does help me find additional keywords. Also helps me find other products that Amazon thinks I'm related to, because it will tell you if you've been clicked through on an ASIN because you've been shown as one of those related products. That ASIN will show up as one of your sources, so that will tell you Amazon thinks you're connected to that. So I guess I run PPC first for data, and second for sales.
Yeah, great. So 2 things on there. Like I said, Smack's 2 big goals are data and sell more shit. Both very elegantly put by Smack.
We know I'm elegant, Liz.
So goal number 1 for me, first and foremost, does Amazon know what the hell I'm selling? That's the first and foremost thing that I want to know. I've tried to manipulate badges just as much as the next guy, and I know all about this. I've tried to manipulate them in the past and done a lot of stuff with that, and now as a result, I want to know right out of the gate, do they know what I'm selling? Smack, I don't know if you remember this product of mine that for the longest time it wasn't actually showing up It wasn't even actually, well, just to kind of give everybody a rundown, I had a product, and this is how I know that putting it in the proper category affects PPC. So the problem that I actually had with the product is I put a product up there, and I tried to manipulate the bestseller badges. That product, after a certain point, disappeared from even popping up organically. But one of the main factors that I found out, as soon as I changed the right node, which is just basically the category, it popped back up. So it first of all disappeared from PPC traffic whatsoever. After it disappeared from that, it disappeared from being even indexed in the Amazon search engine. And it was all because I had the wrong category. And once I changed it, it popped back up. Crazy thing about it is that to this day, it still doesn't really sell that well. In fact, I even thought about scrapping the entire product altogether, but I still held on to it. But it was all because I tried to manipulate the seller badge. So kind of learned my lesson the hard way. I no longer try to manipulate that. I realize that there are benefits when you put it in the right category. Things like that can happen. So I've seen a lot of things happen like that when some people try to manipulate the search engine, the algorithm, with black hat tactics like the badge, the bestseller badge. And I don't actually think it's a black hat technique. I think it's more or less a gray hat technique. So number one goal, does Amazon know what you're selling? Is all the information on your page, is it conveying the right information over to Amazon? That's the very first thing that I want to know. And the way I find that out is immediately when the listing gets put up, as soon as I have about 20 reviews, I turn on the automatic. And a lot of people actually turn it on right out of the gate. Smack, do you prefer to have reviews for the automatic, or do you just go for it with 0 and get the party started?
I wait until I've had some sales and some reviews.
So do I. So I do the same exact thing. I want to make sure first that by having those reviews, it at least gives me a better shot at having a better conversion. And I feel in the long run that also helps keep your cost per click. It helps it naturally get lower over time. So that's kind of the same way that I do it. The second goal, as I talked about, by running the campaigns, I can find my most profitable keywords and also uncover keywords that I've never thought before, thus helping me optimize this listing continually optimizing the listing and refining what I'm trying to actually do and bringing down my costs with my ACOS, which we'll go over a little bit later. So again, we want the best possible keywords for our particular listing, and that's the way we do them, by running these actual campaigns. The third goal, get my product on the most important pieces of real estate on Amazon. We want it at the very top, we want it on the side, or we want it on all of our competitors' listings. So making sure that we've got the best pieces of real estate available within Amazon. Again, being at the very top, you get a very, I don't know if it's that huge, but I would imagine it's pretty good to not only be on the first page as well as to be on the top of the first page with product sponsored ads. So I feel that that does give some sort of benefit overall, even though I cannot confirm it with any numbers at all. But I know one thing for sure. The more eyeballs on your page, the better, especially if you already know what your conversion rate is. It's a huge, huge advantage knowing what your average conversion rate is, because you know when you send X amount of traffic exactly how many that you'll sell. So very big thing for me for sure. At the end of the day, it all comes out to equal Smack's number one goal, which is sell more shit. The other thing is increasing organic position by generating PPC sales themselves. And you increase your organic position because it does help when you sell more. It's one of the factors in the actual search algorithm, and it's definitely part of the algorithm. And then the final goal here, boost product launches. Again, when I get started and I want to sell a product, I like to send as much traffic as possible to the particular listing right out of the gate so that Amazon knows that I mean business and I'm there to be a dominant player in the niche, and I'm going to sell a lot of stuff when they give me more traffic. So I want to let them know this by sending as much PPC traffic as I possibly can And again, getting the party started by beginning to collect the automatic data in one of my campaigns. So that's really my fifth and final goal. And again, all that together equals out Smack's number one goal, which she told you guys just flat out. So before we start getting into some actual terminology, let's talk about retail versus private label. What's the differences? It's very, very simple, guys. First and foremost, time consideration. With private label, there's some times when I'm optimizing some of my product listings and I might put in 6 to 10 hours in a week for a single product of additional keyword research when I'm optimizing. With a private label product, you're going to put in a lot of time. With a retail arbitrage product, Josh, are you there? I wanted you to just let everybody know, how much time did you put in to creating your PPC campaigns when you did your bundle 2 weeks ago?
I think I put in about 5 to 10 minutes.
How much of that 5 to 10 minutes was spent kind of being a little bit clumsy with it, since you were brand spanking new to the whole PPC things?
Approximately 100%.
That's great, Josh. So you just heard Josh. You have a retail arbitrage bundle, spent 5 to 10 minutes. 100% of that time was spent around being a little bit clumsy because it just wasn't something that he's done before. And he spent a good portion of that time trying to figure out how to do it. Again, with retail arbitrage, you want to spend that 5 to 10 minutes. With private label, your time considerations are much, much greater depending on how many you want to sell. As I just told you guys, I spend 6 to 10 hours on a single product in a week optimizing it. And obviously, every couple weeks I'll come back to it. Every week I might spend an hour or two, but every now and then I'm going to spend a tremendous amount of time optimizing that thing and figuring out how to get more sales for it. Second big thing, money considerations, a budget. With private label, you have to make it a point every single month to have a budget. Every single month, what are you comfortable spending? Put that in the budgeting. That's what you're going to go with. With retail arbitrage, it's the same thing, but your budgets are going to be a lot less. And one of the main reasons why is because you usually only have a limited amount of them to sell with retail arbitrage, whereas with private label, really it's an entire process. You're going to sell hopefully an endless amount as long as your product is out there, as long as you still have a very good supplier, as long as there is still a demand for your product. You want to sell as many as possible. So you really want to invest some money into selling that product as well as some time, which we just went over. And lastly, campaign type considerations, manual versus automatic. Josh did quite well running both manual and automatic, but for retail arbitrage, a lot of times all you have to do is, if Amazon already knows what your product is about, just keep that automatic going. Who cares about the manual? Just get the automatic up and running, and you probably will sell out before you even can optimize the listing. But because the costs are so cheap for retail arbitrage, you can still run a lot of traffic and get a lot of sales. So again, it just really depends on whether you're doing a retail arbitrage product or a private label product. Lastly, keywords and match types. With retail, you don't put as much time into finding those keywords. You don't really give a crap about match types. You can just throw them into an automatic campaign and sell a heck of a lot of products. You can sell out before you even get into actually optimizing it. But with private label, you want to start with that automatic campaign, and you want to almost start with a very broad set of keywords and then start slowly optimizing them. So with your listing, again, Smack and I talked about this. I like to see at least 20 reviews for most of my products before I even turn that actual traffic on the PPC campaign, because I want it to be able to convert well enough. This does not relate to e-retail. Josh, did you have any reviews whatsoever when you started your actual campaign for your plate set?
Absolutely zero.
0 reviews. He didn't wait. He got the automatic campaign started. He didn't even know if that was the right thing to do. He just did it. He set his budget, and away he went. And again, he sold out of those plates almost overnight on both occasions, when his original sets showed up and then when the 5 leftover showed up, sold out overnight on those by just doing an automatic campaign. Last thing here, when you get your listings going, or if you guys have already got them going, we showed this on the previous webinar. We showed Josh where to go to turn this on. But once your campaigns are running, make sure you're making use of those reports. At least use the campaign performance report and the search term report. My absolute favorite is the search term report. If you do not have it turned on, you have got to do it. You need to get that. That way you can collect your data. As Smack just said, collecting the data is one of our primary goals. So again, guys, as I told you before, this is going to be a little bit intense. A lot of information to go over. I'm going to just take a quick break here and jump into the OMG way as well as in the questions before we continue. Let's just do the last one, the reports one, and then I kind of already said this on the last slide, but that way you guys can just see. The search term report, a lot of valuable information, including customer search terms, things like that. So you definitely want to take a look at this. You can see your impressions, a lot of different data on there. And the campaign performance report, you need to work with at least those two. And again, search term is my favorite. You want to turn that on to make sure you're getting it on the back end. So let's jump into the OMG way. Let's answer some questions and take a quick break. I'm actually losing my voice. And as I said before, I had a heck of a weekend. And I wanted to answer a million simoleons. Yeah, John Carpenter. That was my site. I sold simoleons. I didn't even like to play the freaking game, I'll tell you that much. I hated to play that stinking game. But it made me a lot of money. And a lot of people sometimes underestimate the kind of crap that can make them money. When you have an opportunity like you have with Amazon, that's what you really want to sell, whatever you possibly can, because the opportunity is so gigantic. So let's jump back into this Facebook group. We're in the OMG way, and let's get a hashtag. I actually would like to put sell more shit, but I think we might piss some people off. So let's just put hashtag sell more, as Smack said. This was classic Smack. What do we used to call them, Smack? Smackism?
We can't say sell more shit.
I don't know. We'll say
sell more shit.
Smack wants a hashtag sell more shit. I'm trying to be politically correct here, and I don't want to use the S word, but Smack sometimes forces me to do it. I put hashtag sell more. I'm not sure why this thing came up from a GoToWebinar. I've hidden webcams. I don't think I've hidden any webcams. The webcam is up. So sell more shit, Smack says. I just put a hashtag sell more to be politically correct. At the end of the day, it's about selling more. So let me double check some questions before we jump back in, since we are kind of diving into this thing and see what we've got. So we were talked about Prime Day is the best piece of steak that there is out there. Looks like I'm in front of the shower curtain now. It's actually just some curtains, James. Somebody here coming to my defense. JustinBieberSucks.net. Yes, we know about that. So, James, if you can PM me that, I will have a look at it if we got enough time here at the end. George, in a single year, it was sales. But my margins were insanely huge because of the fact that my simoleons were being manufactured by 15 computers that I had sitting in my actual room that had a program that I wrote that had a bot on it which would sit two Sims people on there and play a game, and they would make money like that constantly going just nonstop. So that's how it was made. The margins were they were super amazing. There was no overhead for the product. And I was selling like 5 million simoleons for like $129. I don't know, if you go back to that Wayback Machine, I think you might be able to click in and see how many. And I'm actually curious, how much did I sell simoleons for? Now that got me curious, Smack. Let's see. I'm trying to let my voice rest a little bit. here and look at simoleon prices. Go on the high point. Just look at the 19th. This only had 5 million here. I had one that had a lot more. 1 million was $74.95, but I sold a couple 5 millions. And as I said before, these were all being manufactured by some computers. So I had like zero overhead. And I also ran a couple eBay auctions. So I have a pretty eBay account with quite a bit of history and lots of reviews. So, okay, let me get to some other questions. What else we got here? Okay, I want to work with an Amazon seller who doesn't sell. How do I find out that they don't sell their products? Well, Sam, that's really about getting clients and finding them. And Jack Carvel did a wonderful webinar with us a couple, maybe 6 months back, where he talked about how he acquires actual clients. So you definitely want to take a look at that. Also, for selling in Europe, we did a webinar with Theo Hannon, which is a good friend of Smack's. He covered the basics of that. We're going to go into some more advanced selling in the UK coming up. But first, we got to get through this PPC stuff. I mean, really, there's a boatload of information that we can get out there, but we're trying to do it as quickly as possible. Are there daily limits also? Daily limits to what, George? James, yeah, Smack's favorite underwear guy. Okay, Smack loves the underwear guy, I know. I need help with my keywords and HTML codes to make the bullets point proper. If you PM me this link to that, James, and I'll have a look. You need better pictures. Once I take a look at that, I'll let you know. Keywords for the product. Watch the Heisenberg actual webinar. I rewatched that just the other day ago to kind of just keep my knowledge up and to figure out. I'm not that good at Excel, so I have to sometimes rewatch what he does about 5 to 6 times. That is the truth. What do you do with products that don't sell? Does Amazon send it back to you after a period of time? Yeah, they charge you 50 cents per product, Ralph. You got to keep track of that because every now and then they have long-term storage fees. So before that happens, you can run on, I forget the name of the report, but they send you a, Smack, do you know the name of the report that you run prior to long-term storage day where it tells you what you should send back and how much it's going to charge you?
Well, I don't know about a report. I go to the inventory dashboard, and there is a, let me look at it. I haven't looked at it in a while. And so you go to inventory, manage inventory, inventory dashboard, and then it shows FBA inventory age.
Aged inventory report. There you go. So Smack checks out the aged inventory report. I'll tell you guys, this is about, I try to keep things as simple as possible. I click the link they send me in the email. I don't even know what the name of the report is. The link takes me directly to where I need to be, and that's where I look up to see what I need to send back. What is a seller badge? Seller badge, Sam, is, let me see if I can jump in here and show you an example. Let me go to Amazon here. Knee badge, I'm sorry. I did not mean to do that. What is it, knee pad? I'm actually running on fumes, guys. I've had quite a bit of a weekend. I'm running on fumes, so let's see if I can find a bestseller badge here. Right here, Sam. bestseller in safety knee pads. So that's what a badge is. It shows up on the top like that. Let's see what else we got. That's the only one on there. I was trying to see if I could find. Here's another one. Bestseller in kids cycling protective gear. So those two potentially in right categories, but a lot of times you'll see people try to get that bestseller badge by listing knee pads and maybe like sewing kits. James, I don't talk about who I vote for, or I don't talk about politics or religion. I find that keeps me out of trouble. It's my rule of thumb. Do I recommend PPC for retail arbitrage and bundles? I do, Cherry, for sure. You saw Josh do it on their last couple episodes of Amazon Apprentice, and he sold out. What is the link on the OMG Way? Just do a search here, James, in the groups. I just search for OMG Way, and it pops right up. And just send a request if you're not already in the group so that we can add you. How many back-to-school bundles should I target to sell? Chad, if this is your first time selling bundles, I would shoot for 25 or so just to get started, and then maybe do 3 sets of 25 or 2 sets of 25. So that means 2 different products of 25. See how it goes. Next time around when it comes and rolls around to Halloween, do a couple more. As you get used to it, ramp that up. Too many cocktails, Michael. Yes, too many cocktails the whole weekend. Blame Cotton for it. He was pretty much almost holding a gun to my head. Okay, James, fantastic. I'll take a look at that. Bestseller badge, Fez, is just for the person or the company that's selling the most in that particular category. As you saw, those cycling gloves were in child's protective gear. And that means that particular set is selling the best out of everything that's listed in the category child's protective gear. So, all right, I think I got back-to-school bundles for FBA now, Cherry. I would send them now if I could, giving you quite a bit of time to sell them because they'll sell all the way through September. And the good thing is, even when kids go back to school, those bundles will sell all the way through Christmas. If people didn't buy them for their kids for back to school, they'll buy them for Christmas. So definitely want to get those sent now, if possible. So, all right, let's jump back into the anything else, Josh or Smack, you want to add, since I'm kind of taking a little break here before I jump back into, as I said, this intense amount of information that I have coming right up.
Nope.
Josh, anything?
I don't have too much to say about PPC because I don't know that much, but I know that I spent 5 minutes 100% not knowing what I was doing, and it still worked. So whatever you're going to tell us should definitely work.
All right, cool. OMGWay never comes up when I do my search, huh? Let me just add you in here. You said you're under, you spelled your name out somewhere, James. Okay, let me add you. Again, if anyone is not in here, you definitely want to block user back. So we're going to have to see why you got blocked. So I'll take care of that later, James. All right, let's jump back into the presentation and finish it up. And again, keep your questions coming, guys. Again, like I said, we're starting out at the most basic level, and we're going to really turn this up a notch come next week and the weeks to come. So again, if you haven't turned on these reports, get them going. And now let's go over match types now. A lot of people always have questions about this. What type of match type do they run? There's a couple different match types I want to talk about here. First and foremost, there's broad, then there's phrase, exact, and negative. And again, this is very similar, same thing as Google PPC, same concepts, everything. So if you have some familiarity with Google PPC, you already know this stuff. It's the same thing. With broad, keywords in any order, possibly along with other words. And again, if you don't understand this, in a minute, I'm going to show you exactly what I mean. Let me close these questions here really quickly so that I don't see them. This can include singular and plural. I can't even say plural, so those of you that can say it are well ahead of me. Stemmed form, what I mean by that is ing added to the end, ed, things like that. Also includes misspellings. And that's pretty much it. The least most important to the ad auction. So before the ad auction considers things that are being targeted for broad, it's going to consider exact, and it's going to consider phrase. So we're going to get into some examples now. My keyword here is mermaid costume. After all, who hasn't wanted a mermaid costume before? Matches, things that would match this broad are mermaid costume, mermaid's costume, mermaids showing ownership costume, green mermaid costume, and the ever-famous costume of a mermaid, since a lot of people would search costume of a mermaid. I know that would be the first thing I would search for if I was buying myself a costume for a mermaid. Things that do not match. If you type mermaid and or costume alone, then it's not going to match because doesn't have the combination of both of the words. This has the largest reach and the most impressions, and again, it's a quick setup. Pretty much it's almost the entire basis of the automatic campaign. Amazon's going to throw up a bunch of keywords that it thinks you're relevant for, and it's going to show you exactly, it's going to give you the broad stuff. And some of the other more refined stuff, but again, it's going to give you a bunch of different words. The phrase displays when someone searches for your exact keyword or additional words in the sequence. And I'll show you what I mean by that here in a minute. Again, it can also include plural and stem words, and it has a broader reach with better targeting. So it's just a little bit better targeting than broad. I'm sorry, these questions keep jumping in my way, so I'm just going to go into this thing. It's the second most important thing to the ad auction. So after it looks at the exact, it will look at the phrase because it's second most important. Let's get some examples of some actual words now. So I'll show you what I mean by in sequence here in a minute. Keyword again is mermaid costume. This one, mermaid costumes, mermaid costume, which is a misspelling, mermaid's costume, blue mermaid costume, and mermaid's costumes. As you can see, they're all in sequence, and what I mean by that is mermaid costume will always be together, whereas with broad, costume for mermaid, mermaid and costume were not in sequence. So with phrase, they have to be together in sequence like that, and you can add words before and or after them. Ones that would not match would be mermaid and costume, and again, costume for mermaid. So these would not match if you actually, your customer typed that in the search box. With phrase, you get a moderate number of impressions, definitely less than broad, but again, you get a more refined audience. So again, you're getting a little bit more targeted, more refined. With exact, the customer-specific search term phrase or a close variation. Again, this is key. A lot of people usually tend to think that it is exactly the way it is, but it could be a very close variation. It could still include plurals, misspellings, and or stemmed. And this is the most important consideration for the ad auction. So the ad auction looks at this as the most important term. So this is the very first part of everything. It looks at exact. This is precise targeting at its finest, and it's Amazon's #1 preference. And again, the reason it's their #1 preference is that when they look at this, they know that this is going to have a very high conversion rate, much higher than the other two, because it's exactly what a customer is searching for. So really think about that, and you'll kind of sort of understand the differences between the three. So here we go with our famous mermaid costume. Keywords mermaid costume, the things that would come up, mermaid costume, mermaid costumes, mermaid's costume, and mermaid costume. Ignore those quotation marks. It wouldn't let me misspell it, so that's why I put it out there in the front. Things that would not match. Blue mermaid costume, mermaid, costume, and costume for mermaid. So again, it's not adding any additional words to the front or the back, but includes plurals and or misspellings. And they have to be in sequence. This is the least amount of impressions, but again, it's a very, very targeted, and as a result, you can get a pretty decent amount of with the conversion on this one. Now let's talk about negative, which a lot of people usually have trouble understanding. There's two different negative types. There's negative phrase, which is basically keywords. The keywords are an exact match, but they include an additional word before and or after. So again, we're going to get into the examples here in a minute. So you'll see exactly what that is. Then there's negative exact. It's exactly the customer's search terms, but includes the plural. So let's go ahead and have a look. This allows advertisers to refine their campaigns and improve campaign performance. And let's look at negative exact. Negative exact is the exact keyword in the exact sequence with no other keywords. So going back to mermaid costume, if we entered mermaid costume as a negative keywords, searches that would not be allowed are mermaid costume, mermaid's costume, and mermaid costumes. So what this basically means is if you had the negative keyword of mermaid costume and your customer typed mermaid costume, your ad would not show up. If they type mermaid's costume, your ad would not show up. And if they type mermaid costumes, your ad would not show up. So it really allows you to refine that even further. Searches that would be allowed with mermaid costume is blue mermaid costume and costume for mermaid. Remember, this is negative exact, so if you don't understand it, go back and look at the slides for exact, and then come back here and look at this, and it will really start to make sense when you take a little bit of time to process it. I know when I first learned this, I was kind of completely confused. I didn't understand what the hell the people that were teaching me were talking about, but when I started to use it, it made perfect sense. Negative phrase is just the exact keyword in the right sequence with possible other words before or after. So again, our negative keyword is mermaid costume. Searches that would not be allowed are mermaid costume, mermaid's costume, mermaid costumes, and blue mermaid costume. Searches allowed would be costume for mermaid. So again, really come back here and look at this, think about what it means. When searches are not allowed, it would mean that if you entered a negative keyword of mermaid costume in the back end and someone typed in the search bar mermaid costume, your ad would not show up. If they type mermaid's costume, your ad would not show up. If they type mermaid costumes, your ad would not show up. And if they type blue mermaid costume, your ad would not show up. However, if they type costume for mermaid, your ad would show up. So again, think about it, write it out if you have to, and it should make sense. Let's go over definitions. And again, guys, I told you this is going to be, we got about 4 more slides going here. Intense amount of just slides and slides of information that it's kind of a little bit overwhelming. I told you guys it was going to be information overload, but you really need to study this and get this down so that next week you understand everything that I'm going through, everything that I'm talking about, and look it over and you're able to tell, because just knowing this is a huge, huge win just in your overall Amazon education. It's kind of like when you have to crack open a book for a college course that you're taking and you're having to memorize definitions and boring stuff like that, and you really want to just jump into what a lot of people consider like the fun stuff. And maybe I'm just a nerd, but Smack, were there any courses in college that you were ready to just dive deep into the fun stuff?
Fun stuff. Which courses in college would I define as fun stuff? Calculus? Thermodynamics? I didn't take the wine tasting course at Cornell. That would have been fun. But no, I wouldn't define any of them as having fun stuff.
Josh, were there any fun classes you had in college?
To be honest, I kind of liked my Excel class.
There you have it. Fun stuff. Josh liked his Excel class. I obviously did not pay attention to Excel class. I found I actually had a class where I had to help out in the office, and it got me out of class. Funnest class that there was. I meant I didn't have to be in class. All right, so let's jump into the definitions. We only got a couple more slides here, then we'll take some more questions. And again, like I said, next week we're going to really ramp this up, and you're going to have to know this terminology. So definitions, there's only a couple words that you really need to know this week. One is a customer search term. This is the actual word used by the customer to look for a specific product on Amazon, and it differs from the keyword. And where this really comes into play is when you start looking at the reports, because it classifies them as this. And I know when I first looked at them, I was like, what are they talking about? Isn't it the same thing? The keyword is the word used by the seller to advertise the product. So that's where the differentiation really comes into place. And again, for those of you guys that have turned on those reports, in those reports, exactly what I'm talking about. If you haven't, don't worry. We'll get a report on here live at some point during this series, and you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. So two different terms mean two totally different things. You're going to have to know that. A lot of people get that confused. The CPC bid is nothing more than the maximum bid you're willing to pay when someone clicks on your advertisement. And again, this is a fee that goes to Amazon, and it's all a part of the entire process. You have to put in your maximum bid for those keywords. Campaign types, we've talked about two different types, automatic and manual. As Smack and I both discussed, we both like to turn on automatic out of the gate after 20 reviews, but there is another campaign called a manual campaign. And one of the things that I had Josh do just to ramp up his retail arbitrage sales of that 4th of July kit was to turn on his manual campaign. That way he could sell a lot more in the limited amount of window that he had before his 4th of July sales were going to come to an end. So he turned that on. It worked excellent for him. You don't necessarily have to do that with retail arbitrage, but I suggested it that way he could get as much sales as possible. A couple more definitions here. Impressions. What it means when you see the word impressions is the number of times a customer sees your actual, I didn't type the rest of it, your advertisement. Clicks. Someone actually clicks on the impression to see that page. That's what a click is. When somebody clicks the impression, which is your ad, and they wind up landing on your listing, that's what a click is. A CTR, known as a click-through rate. That's nothing more than just a comparison of the clicks to an impression, and it's shown in a percentage-wise. Conversion rate. We're all very familiar with this. If you're doing your data on all your Amazon products, you should know that what percentage of the time you get an order based on your clicks as your conversion rate. In the actual back-end reports where Smack was talking about, it says unit session percentage. So conversion rate, unit session percentage, they're the same thing pretty much. A couple other important things that we'll go over at a later time, but ACOS, I know a lot of people gets them really confused. It's the way that Amazon sort of helps you figure out what you're doing. The campaign, the ad group, the sales, the orders, and the spend. And again, we'll jump into all those specifically when we start looking at some data. So for next time, guys, again, like I said, this was just going to cover the brief overview of what all these terms are. Next time, we'll be looking at the campaign manager overview. We're going to talk about the budget cap. We're going to see exactly how I set up a campaign, go through that. I'm actually going to try to set up beforehand so that I already have some data. And then we're going to talk about my strategy behind it. So I'm going to show you the strategy that I use with the automatic, with the actual match types. Once I get an automatic campaign going and I turn a manual one on, I'm going to show you how I refine things over time. And I'm going to show you how I optimize everything and go over reports and everything. So I think it's going to be a really huge, nice way to learn things. Everybody's going to be able to see over the shoulder exactly what I'm doing, how I set it up, how I optimize them, how I decide to drop particular keywords, how I decide to add them, but every single thing we're going to start to see here step by step. So action item for everybody that's on here before we start taking questions. Make sure you understand all this. When you come on next week and we talk about broad or phrase, make sure you understand exactly what that is, understand what manual is, understand what automatic is. If you're already running campaigns, go back and look at the campaign type, the match type, and everything else. Make sure you have your reports enabled and you can look at them and you know what you're looking at. Make sure you have all that done. And that's pretty much it. Smack, anything to add? As I said before, we're going to do something super basic today and really turn it up a couple notches come the next few times. As I said before, we're going to probably stretch this out to at least 6 to 8 weeks. So anything else that you wanted to add, Smack?
No, other than to go back to where you were at the beginning and to say that Amazon has a whole bunch of training about this that gives lots of examples of the difference between broad, phrase, exact, what counts for each one, and it really gives a really nice background. So if you're feeling a bit lost after looking at this, I would go into your back end at Seller Central and just read through everything Amazon has about PPC campaigns. That'll help you actually identify and pinpoint where your questions are. We can sort of fill in the gaps between what Amazon says in its lines. So I'd suggest everybody take a look at that.
Right, yeah. And as I talked about, the Amazon YouTube channel is also a pretty good resource. They have quite a bit of videos as well that cover all that information. So you definitely want to check that out as well. And as Smack said, the back end of Seller Central and under the help, there's a lot of videos there. So get caught up, guys. Make sure you understand all the terminology before we jump right in. Check out your campaigns if you already have them. Make sure you've got those search term reports enabled so that you can start analyzing that data alongside me as I analyze my data. Let's see what we've got here in terms of questions. Keep questions rolling in. We have about 20 minutes for questions, so let's see what we've got here. Ideal price for school bundle. It really depends, Sam, on what exactly you're trying to sell. If it's like a set of folders, usually they sell for 12 to 17 bucks. One of the things that I want to mention when it comes to back to school, for those of you guys that are selling that stuff, a lot of times what happens with back to school is when the season starts to hit, a lot of people see all the available choices out there to the consumer, so they begin to panic and they lower their prices. So literally prices go down for a while, and then they start to go up as people sell out of things. So I usually try to hold out at least until mid-August before I really start making sure my prices are in good line. So you'll also notice that a lot of things will start to disappear in some cases, and the stuff you have will sell for a premium price because there was a shortage of it, and or people just didn't think it was going to be that popular, and you just so happened to stumble upon it by extra hours of work. And again, this is a pretty famous saying, but the harder you work, the luckier you get. That happened a lot to me when I was selling back to school stuff. So you definitely want to make sure that you're out there doing that, and it just really depends.
Liz, can I just jump in with back to school just for a minute?
Go right ahead, Smack, sure.
I don't know if people were, pay attention to the Facebook groups, but I posted this morning because this week Toys R Us is doing the buy a backpack, get the lunchbox for free deal. If you are doing retail arbitrage, you need to get your butt to Toys R Us and go buy backpacks and get the free lunchboxes, because when last year Ty Nichols said, hey, the backpacks you'll break even on, the lunch boxes that you've gotten for free will sell for $15 to $20 each, and she was not kidding. I bought maybe 20 of the things. I wish I'd bought 80 of them because they all sold, and then even some were returned and I forgot about them, and then I relisted them in November and they sold instantaneously at even more money. So if you are near a Toys R Us, if you have one within 15 minutes, I would go in there tomorrow and take advantage of that deal, buying whatever trending characters they have, because it's easy money.
Yeah, great point, Smack. It really is. Those backpacks are tremendous. I sometimes miss those backpack days. I miss sitting in the backpacks and seeing them sell so fast. So I really love the backpacks, and I think everybody should be doing it. So other than that, anything else that you wanted to add, Josh? I know this is your first back-to-school season, but a lot of people like to see, what is Josh doing? He's a new guy, and they kind of, now that you had this successful listing with Amazon Apprentice, you sold out of that, kind of want to know what are you up to for back-to-school?
Right now, I'm not up to a whole lot because On the last webinar, didn't Ty say that we shouldn't make bundles that are licensed?
With backpacks, you can sell them individually.
Right,
Okay.
because they all have the right UPC on them. So if it's a Finding Dory backpack with the Pixar UPC, that UPC is right there, so you don't need to bundle it. And the listing is probably already created.
Right,
Yep.
so I'll definitely be doing that. But as far as bundles go, I guess we'll have to come up with something else other than licensed products.
Yeah, I haven't actually had a chance to talk to Ty, so I probably should do that at some point this week to give everybody a heads up to see what's going on. I actually have some bundles of my own that are Disney bundles, so I haven't actually looked into that, but I know the clock is ticking on that, so I'm definitely going to jump on that and figure out what's happening. That probably is going to start out with a conversation with Ty to see what's going on and to figure this thing out, because it's, as I said before, it's kind of unknown territory right now.
I'm going to mention just one other little thing about back-to-school bundles, because, we're talking about licensed characters and stuff, and you're talking about little kids. But, for me, when I was shopping for kids, once you hit in middle school and high school, the big deal was getting color-coordinated bundles, so that you had a navy blue binder, a navy blue notebook, a navy blue folder, so that you were keeping all the subjects organized. And as a parent, you wind up having to buy millions of those. So when I found bundles that were, green, red, blue, that simplified my life a lot. And you don't need to deal with licensed stuff when you're doing that. When you, create a single subject bundle that's color-coded.
Right, I'm actually answering a couple questions related to that in privately here to some people, but as Smack said, the sky's the limit for bundles. Another popular one that I can't recall if Ty actually went over this on her bundling webinar was actual college kid bundles. I know we talked about the snack sets, but there's also like bundles for college kids that are going away to college for the first time, and they need to have a shower set. So it might be like some flip-flops or a shower caddy, a towel, or something like that. So those kinds of bundles there's a frequent amount of them out there, and they sell well because I see them year after year sell. And so a lot of people have done that. And again, it's really up to what you want to do. Michael here says that he's got some licensed bundles up and they're running so far so good. So really, we don't know exactly what Amazon is triggered all this like Amazon stuff. A lot of times they're very spotty in how they enforce the rules. I told you guys about a listing that I had where they actually removed my images, but instead of giving me any kind of warning or a slap on the wrist, they removed my images and they replaced them with ones they took of my product. So Smack, I don't know if I told you about that.
Yeah, no, they're doing very weird things with images.
Yeah, so they do in the way they enforce things, who's to know what their rhyme or reason is, but as I said before, you could certainly sell them and possibly just get a slap on the wrist if they tell you they don't like it. A lot of times you could sell them and they might not even know that you're selling them. Like a lot of times it seems like they don't even give a crap. So really, at the end of the day, it just comes down to some of the spotty things they do. It's who knows what the hell they're doing. And what about a dating bundle for college student? I don't know what I would include in a dating bundle for college kids, other than maybe some condoms. I'm not sure if that'd be a good idea for a bundle, but who knows? Maybe they'll buy them. Maybe it'll be a dating kit for a college guy. That could be a potential bundle. Instead of him having to go to the actual store and buy some Trojans, he would buy them in your bundle. That's a potential one. Who knows?
The requirements for getting ungated there are sort of interesting in sexual wellness. It is a restricted category.
Condoms are sexual wellness. Okay. Yeah, it depends. It really depends on, and you never know what will sell well. We saw some of those ugly Valentine bundles that they sold the hell out of, and they were the ugliest thing I've ever seen in my whole life. So you can never really tell. But if you guys have any more questions, just put them out here. If not, we didn't even really have any hashtags. I mean, there was so much information here that really it can kind of be a little bit overwhelming. That's why I wanted to kind of deliver it all at once here in the first webinar, and then little bit at a time sort of get deeper into it and talk a little bit more about it as you guys see it in action or over the shoulder. Again, we'll be covering briefly week to week, and I still want you guys to go over it and make sure you try and understand it, because it's very, very important. If you can get these terms down, you're going to be so far ahead of the learning curve as we go on week after week that it's, as I said before, it's going to be a huge advantage. So let's get a last hashtag. Let's see who wants to actually come up with this hashtag. Why don't we just hashtag whatever the heck we feel like? So is there an Amazon Facebook group? Marianne, Helen has already hashtag keywords. There is an Amazon Facebook group, but you have to be in OMG for at least 6 months to jump into there. If you have been, let me know. Michael did say, Smack, you got a couple people that would sell more shit. Unfortunately, David and company are going to think I'm the one that came up with that. Somebody'd like to know, Josh, where did you get those little dumps that you hashtagged on it? Richard Burns, enjoying the information on the PPC. Thank you, Richard. I'm glad. What's a simoleon? It's a piece of fake currency, which is kind of, it's almost like I was a counterfeiter, Smack. I was selling fake, look at Helen back with some of these. These are fantastic here. I love them. Did you see these, Smack? Actually, I'm glad that Helen's back. I kind of wanted to let her know that last week we gave Smack a brand new nickname. We called her the Sherlock Holmes of Amazon. So we were picturing Smack with, say, a Sherlock Holmes hat and a pipe, and with maybe a glass of her favorite whiskey, or what is it that you drink, Smack? Black whiskey?
Johnny Walker Black.
Johnny Walker Black, with a glass of Johnny Walker Black with her Sherlock Holmes pipe and her cap. So we were wondering, we said, Helen's not here. What the hell? How can she not be here? But we got this great little picture she put together. Josh is a sick puppy. Excel class. Super helpful. We got a coyote. I love it. Thanks for the info overload. As I said before, put whatever hashtag you want. I'm not picky. As I said before, we're going to get ready to fasten our seatbelts and really jump into this. I'm going to put a hashtag recovering from a hangover. Or maybe just hashtag hangover. Next week I'm going to be fresh as ever. I'm losing my voice here because I had such a difficult time. If you guys are on, I haven't even seen if Cotton's having an assimilation webinar. Did assimilation end, or is it still going on, Smack?
No, it's still well, his whatever he called the his assimilation webinars are going over, but his newbie webinar series is over. But he's still running, assimilation on Wednesday nights usually.
Yeah, I love it, Eric. I am regretting it now. If you guys are on actual Cotton's webinar tomorrow, just hashtag him. Say, just surprise the heck out of him and hashtag him believer or something lame like that. Cotton, we know you were at Justin Bieber. We know you're a believer. Say something like that. Cotton is a believer. It was his idea to go see Justin Bieber. So you guys make sure you give him a hard time about that on assimilation tomorrow. Yes, we did get Cotton blasted several days in a row. So thank you guys very much. I will see you all next week. Again, we're going to turn this up a notch. I'm going to show you some data from some of the campaigns that I'm starting to run alongside this, just so you can see it firsthand. And again, if you don't get this information, do not worry. We will go over it. But I really, really encourage you guys to re-go through this, re-look at your notes, and watch those Amazon videos so that you can really jump in here and comprehend exactly what we're talking about. Because when we get into the more advanced section, it's going to be fantastic if you guys get on there and impress the hell out of Jack, because he's going to know that you guys got your basics down, or impress the hell out of Smack. So before we sign off, Smack, any last words?
I'm pretty easy to impress. Not a big deal. Just do your homework. Just do your homework.
Josh, any last words?
Not really.
Okay, so I'm going to say just a couple last things. I'm actually answering some questions here. Valentine bundles, I'm sorry, condoms, like Smack said, they're in sexual wellness. With the backpacks and lunch kits, that's all you really need to send in. You sent items on 6/29, but still not showing. Call Amazon, Deborah. You can go into your help, open up a case, and call them. 6-month request for the OMGers. They wanted to jump into the Amazon Facebook group. Okay, great, awesome, guys. Well, last words to you guys are do the homework, get caught up with the terminology so that next week we dive deep in and you guys have a thorough understanding as soon as we get into the more advanced concepts. So until then, guys, I will see you. I'm going to be recovering here from the hangover and the voice loss, and I will see you guys next week. So have a great week. Get out there, get some productivity going. And tomorrow I will be live on a call with Jared. We still don't quite yet know what topic we're talking about, so if you want to jump on in to that topic tomorrow, I will send an email out to everyone and let them know what the topic of choice is this time around and get you guys fired up to listening to Jared and his thoughts. So now I'll see you guys next time. Take care.